Yes, my friends, welcome back. In today's latest news, we discuss three big stories today. And to start with things, we talk all things Pochettino as we learn so much about his training methods and how he boosts the qualities of his teams. Very fascinating, very insightful. And to move on, we have big reports around Moises Caicedo and some interesting developments around Lukaku's future at the end of the season. So my friends, tons of things to discuss, break down. I hope you guys are enjoying these news videos. There's going to be a massive summer this window, so make sure you guys are stay tuned on BlueLionsTV, yeah? If you like today's video, you know what to do, and if you don't like it, that gets me working harder for next time. So I hope you guys enjoy, and without wasting any more time. So right now, let's start with things, and let's discuss Moises Caicedo. Now, Brighton are expecting to lose both Caicedo and Mac Allister in the same window. De Zerbi was very honest and frank with this assessment, and it does seem like Brighton are already preparing the new players to replace these guys for next season. They've signed João Pedro from Watford, they're close to signing Dahoud from Dortmund to act as that Mac Allister replacement, and James Milner is also coming for experience too. Listen, Brighton know what they're doing, yeah? The whole strategy is based on finding unknown prospects of quality, of course, training them up, leveling their game up, and then flipping these guys for ridiculous amounts of money. It's worked incredibly well, and this is what they do, and this is why clubs like us sign the players that Brighton are producing. So in the case of Mac Allister, interesting reports today, it does state that ideally if he's leaving them, he has to sign for a Champions League club, which would mean that we are categorically out of the picture. But to be honest with you, I don't see too many Champions League clubs for next season actually showing interest in Mac Allister. I don't know if Liverpool are going to secure Champions League football either. I kind of feel like there could be flexibility, but it depends on what Pochettino would say, and it depends on the offer and projects that we present to the player. But before I end things, I've always felt like Mac Allister's future is more tied in with Mason Mount. You know, reports haven't really suggested that he's come close now to agreeing any new contract terms, and Arsenal and Liverpool now are growing as favourites to try and sign him to help boost their midfield for next season. So let's see what happens with that one. If Mount was to leave, then I would not be surprised to see Mac Allister in the picture. But now let's move on to Moises Caicedo, because Fabrizio Romano said in his video today, listen, don't be surprised to see us come back again to make another bid to sign him after our attempts to sign him in January, because the valuation that Brighton wanted was just, not reflective of Caicedo's actual value, and it was too much money. And of course, our whole attention and focus was on Enzo Fernandez. But now, new season, new needs, new rules, and I do think Caicedo would be a great DM to sign. Now, I've known about Caicedo for a long time because I remember first reporting about him years back when he was playing for Independiente in Ecuador, and at the time, scouts from across Europe were just so excited by this guy's potential, and I guess it's no surprise that he's really fulfilling that, because this guy has elite mentality. He has incredible technique, and he's one of the best defenders in the league. You see that in terms of his intelligence, how he constantly puts pressure on opponents, how he's funneling opponents into areas they don't want to be in. He can win the ball back very cleanly. He has aggression. If he's in your midfield, you're not going to lose midfield battles. You're not going to be losing second balls. He is very good at defending counter-attacks too, and the bonus with Caicedo is that this guy can also play not only as a defensive mid, he can play further up the field as well too and regain possession higher up the field. And one of the reasons why he can do that, one of the reasons why this guy is quite complete defensively in midfield, is because this guy plays forward all the time. He's not playing sideways passes looking to pass responsibility of the ball on to teammates. No, he takes responsibility himself. He plays those vertical passes. He looks to push his teams forward. And I think that for clubs of our size, when you're signing particular players in roles like this, they need to have those capabilities. We can't have guys on the ball who are very timid and constantly pick the wrong passing options. So listen, I could envision Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez together. That would be incredibly sexy. That would be incredibly technical, powerful. For that type of price, reports saying around 70 million this summer. Who knows what happens? But one of the reasons why I would not be surprised that we return back to signing Brighton players this summer is because Brighton, of course, have always notoriously been very interested in signing our youth prospects. And one youth prospect in particular is actually Chukweumeka. Now, in my last video, I was saying, from the top of my head as an idea, it would make sense if Carnes was at Brighton, because yeah, that's a club where they're going to take your game to the next level. And no surprise, reports are suggesting that Brighton are considering making a permanent move to sign Carnes. And would I be surprised if we accepted that? To be honest, no. If we could use him in terms of helping us broker a deal to try and sign Caicedo or someone else that could work in our favour. The reason as to why is not because Carnes isn't good enough, but there has to be some balance. Like, you can't sign all these great young players if you're not going to give them game time. I mean, it undermines the whole strategy. It doesn't make sense. And as we've seen with Brighton, you can put clauses in these deals, You can do things to potentially sign Carnes back in the future if you feel like, okay, we need that position in the team right now. But I'd hate to see a great talent and prospect, a guy that every time he's come on in games this season, he has impressed. He has done things. He has been exciting. He carries the ball. He shows a lot of great possibilities. But, with too much competition, it just doesn't do favours for anyone. And if we're looking to potentially sign even 2 more mids this summer, then I don't see how Carnes is going to get much game time for next season. So that's everything with us, Brighton, and the players that both clubs are interested in. Share your thoughts and opinions. Is Moises Caicedo the defence midfield player you want to see for next season? And listen, he is a defence midfield player too. And, if you're playing in the Zerbi system, you have to be very good on the ball in terms of helping progress your team further forward and playing out from the back, which Caicedo can do to a T. So let's now move on to another fascinating article today, released by Matt Law, and he gives us some incredible insight behind Pochettino's coaching mentality, training ideas, and what to expect from him for next season. Now, one thing that we all know already is that Pochettino wants his teams to run. He wants his team to put that work in. With Frank Lampard coming in and criticising the stamina levels, you'd imagine that Pochettino is going to get these guys whipped into shape for next season. And I want to go through some of the interesting talking points in the article that Law released today, and I'm going to link the article in the description so you can read it for yourselves and form your own opinions. Anyway, we've got some insight into Pochettino's mentality, and he seems to be a very superstitious type of character. Matt Law reports that he keeps like a tray of lemons in his office. And the reason as to why is because lemons symbolically are seen as, absorbers of negative energy. And Pochettino is like a very intuitive type of man and has that intuitive personality type, He does rely upon things like the data and the analysis, but at the same time, he knows people, he can read people, and he trusts his instincts every single time. You know what, I get it. I think like when people reach like the highest professions in their careers, sometimes you have that individual thing for yourself that allows you to keep that competitive spirit, that allows you to really perform to your best. And if that is like intuition for Pochettino, then I accept that. Now, one thing we'll definitely see from our team this pre-season is grueling training sessions, and we have some insight behind a particular training method that Pochettino relies upon to really boost the stamina, but most importantly, improve the mental capacity, to kind of unlock the mental capacity to show the players that you can do a lot more, and of course, most importantly, to improve that mindset of, boosting your limits, becoming a braver person. All those types of qualities that come from this training method. And this method in particular is known as the Gacon Test. And here's how it basically works. So you have around 45 seconds to run 150 meters around like a relay track. And then you have 15 seconds afterwards as downtime to rest. But then for your next lap, you have to do that again within 45 seconds, but this time you run 6.25 meters extra on top. And as I said, not only does this improve the players aerobically, fitness-wise, but also improves that mind-muscle capacity. And this is why Pochettino's teams normally don't feel fatigue issues, as the season, of course, is in its like key parts, like during the winter time or near the end of the season. Normally for us recently, we tend to kind of drop off physically when it gets like really like demanding times of the season, especially during winter. And I'm hoping that Pochettino is going to help us improve in those particular months for next season. But to continue on with the training sessions, Pochettino literally likes to have a watchful eye of everything, because he records training sessions, he records the gym sessions. Of course, he's recording the games as well too. And he's going to regularly hold individual talks with players to, show them the clips where they're going wrong, where to make improvements in, the mistakes they're making in their game. Nothing goes to waste, and he tracks performances in every department. So players know exactly how they're performing week in, week out, which, for a team like us that wants to win things, that has competitive characters, I feel like a lot of these guys are going to respond very well to that type of like game of, self-improvement. But outside of the training and, some of his ideologies, Pochettino, of course, likes to have a united squad, and he really believes in a lot of like team bonding trips and holidays, and that will include people like the staff as well too. Like no one is left out. It's about, improving the personalities and the togetherness in his teams. And as Pochettino said, he wants to have a united team, but a team full of brave men who aren't gonna like falter when the pressure's high, that can play with bravery on the ball during those like difficult moments, that can always do the positive thing. For me, this is what training's about, right? You're looking to level up, you're looking to be a better player than you were yesterday. So I do think this could be like a bit of a culture shock for a lot of these guys, but in the long run, it's going to be very positive for them, because Pochettino, of course, will drop off the intensity once he feels like his values are shared throughout everyone in his squad. And to be honest, I recommend that you guys read this article for yourself. For me, very fascinating. I really enjoyed reading it. I really feel like the team will respond very well to Pochettino's methods, and let's keep things real. I mean, these guys have probably heard a ton of positive things about Pochettino over the years from like international teammates, friends, colleagues, etc. And, going back to Paris Saint-Germain, some people were trying to completely dismiss Pochettino's entire career because of his spell at Paris Saint-Germain. But let's keep things real. Like guys like Mbappe and Neymar and Messi respond to this level of training. I mean, absolutely not. So I kind of feel like not only are we the right fit for Pochettino, but Pochettino is the right fit for us. So share your thoughts and opinions. How do you feel about this information you're taking in? And now let's end things by discussing interesting developments around Romelu Lukaku. Now it does seem like maybe getting very small hints and glimpses that Lukaku is not going to be returning to us for next season. And to keep things real, I think most of us kind of expected that, no? We still have to wait for Pochettino to have like that decisive conversation with Lukaku. Who knows if he decides to change his mind, but currently it's looking very unlikely. Now today, reports in Italy have suggested that Lukaku is hoping that we can cover more of his 340k per week wages to allow him to continue his loan spell next season at Inter Milan. Reports say that we are open, of course, to doing so, but it comes at the expense of Lukaku, of course, having to take reduced wages for next season. Now, when he signed for us, he signed a 12 million a year deal. To complete that loan spell to Inter Milan last season, that was around 8.5 million. So reports already are saying that Lukaku might have to accept a salary between 6.5 million to 7 million to remain at Inter Milan for next season. And we'll cover some of that, but Lukaku also has to chip in as well too. Now, one thing we won't negotiate for is that loan fee. Like, if you want him again, that's going to cost you 8 million flat. And to be honest, I think this is quite fair. And I think once Inter Milan have found out whether they have Champions League football guarantee for next season, they'll start to move a lot more assertively when it comes to securing Lukaku for next season. Still, I feel like with Lukaku, there's so many ways this deal could eventually pan out. I mean, we've had lots of interest in Inter Milan players over the years. Before it was Hakimi, Dumfries, now Onana and Lautaro Martinez. And Inter Milan have also expressed interest in Loftus-Cheek as well as Gallagher, who they came close to signing last season, but of course Skriniar remains. And then Todd Bowley intervened to get Gallagher to remain here for this season against the wishes of Thomas Tuchel. So for me, I feel like there's still like a ton of variables that can be discussed when it comes to really finalising Lukaku's return back to Inter Milan for next season. But if players were involved in exchanges, they'll be like separate deals. Like, who knows if we signed Martinez and Onana for ridiculous amounts of money, and then Lukaku and Gallagher went the other way with money on top too. It's not the worst thing that could happen, in my opinion. So let's see how things pan out. But currently, we could be seeing a new number 9 for next season. Will that be Osimhen? Will that be Martinez? Will that be Tone? Will there be surprises? We'll find out. And of course, once we do, make sure you guys come back on Blue Lions TV, where I'm going to cover all the latest reports that break around this football club. So my friends, on that note, I'm the EFC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.